Rugby on Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, main sponsor of the Irish rugby team. We all belong to the team of us.
Now, the Irish men's and women's 7 teams are currently in South Africa putting together their final preparations ahead of the World Cup this weekend. I'm delighted that we can now welcome the Irish men's rugby sevens captain Billy Dardis to the show ahead of that World Cup in Cape Town. The Ireland men's and women's teams each secured World Cup qualification earlier this year after record-breaking seasons which saw both sides go unbeaten in the Rugby Europe event. Billy is also Senior Vice President of Operations at Triton Lake, who are of course proud title sponsors of Irish Sevens rugby since June of 2021. Billy, welcome along.
Thanks very much, Will. Good to chat.
How are preparations going? I saw you getting the pictures taken above the Cape earlier today. It's just a couple of days away now from the championships getting underway for what's going to be your second World Cup. How have the preparations been over the last week?
Yeah, it's been really good. We just came off the back of our final leg of the World Series of this season in LA. So we flew straight from LA down to Cape Town via Doha. It was a long enough trip. So we hit the road straight after that. That was about, I think we got here just over a week ago. And so, yeah, we've had a good week's prep there, a good bit of training. And yeah, no, we're well settled and looking forward to getting going. I suppose we've been waiting not too long, qualified only just over a month ago. So it should be a great tournament. I think they've sold over 170,000 tickets for the weekend, which is huge. So I'm sure the place will be rocking all weekend. So it should be a good tournament.
Two sides to the jet-setting lifestyle. On the one hand, now being at the elite level of the Rugby 7 series, you get to go to all these exotic locations and travel around the world, but also the fatigue of all that travel has to count a little bit as well, particularly having to come from the west coast of the United States through the Middle East and then to South Africa ahead of this major tournament as well.
Yeah, it is mad. I suppose it just comes with the World Series. This year we travelled from, Singapore to Vancouver. It was a 16-hour time difference, and that really did mess with your head a little bit. And this has been similar enough. I suppose it took us 3 or 4 days to really settle down and get our heads around it, just in terms of sleep and just you feel a little bit lethargic for a while. But yeah, I suppose we're well used to it now in the World Series. Some of the young guys, they're kind of feeling it a little bit, but at the same time, you can't really complain when we got to spend a week in LA. Got to play in a cool tournament out there, and then you're flying straight down to Cape Town. I suppose that's the perks of it. It can be quite challenging, but especially trying to perform on the world stage. But at the same time, everyone here is in the same boat, and we're all coming from the same location. So, I think you can only really look at the positives. We get to travel the world with our best mates, play in front of these massive crowds. And it's great fun at the same time. So no, it has been a crazy year, and everyone is just looking forward to this big tournament on the back of kind of a really good season for us as a squad, coming 5th in the world. We're just hoping to build on that and hopefully continue building that momentum into this weekend.
What a journey it's been. I mean, you can give us an insight into this because you've been involved for the last 7 seasons, but to go from the team being effectively reformed, going through, eventually working your way up through the tournaments, then getting on to the World Series, and now to be considered among the top 5 in the world, having gone to an Olympics in the year just gone by. That's quite a journey from when you had left Leinster and then went into the Sevens programme.
Yeah, it's been wild. I suppose last year when we qualified for Tokyo and went to the Olympics, that was a real moment to reflect on it all, that journey. I remember when we qualified, just standing on the pitch in Monaco and talking to Anthony Eddy and David Ford, just thinking how this program's gone from literally the basement of Europe, where us as a squad were based out of 62 Lansdowne Road. We'd make our way into train there, and you might have 7 or 8 lads training in the cold and winter and not really knowing where things are going. And it was still trying to get up off the ground. We weren't playing in the biggest tournaments in the world. We were playing in front of a man and a dog against some lower tier nations in World Rugby. To then qualifying for a World Series, we went to the last World Cup in San Francisco, and then ultimately going to the Olympics. I suppose that was the biggest stepping stone for us as a program. To now, yeah, we're not only just going to these tournaments to compete and I suppose make up the numbers, or like we're not just happy to be there. We now have guys that want to go there and win medals. They want to win tournaments. We still haven't done that. We've come second, we've come third in World Series tournaments, but we haven't won anything. And now we've got guys who, as well as winning, want to be some of the best players in the world. So it's come on an incredible amount. And it has been such a journey, such a fun journey, to be honest with you. We've had great crack along the way. We've been to some incredible places, played in some great tournaments, and had some really memorable moments. But I'm hoping this, like as David Nussfor has put it to us in the last few days, that the bus doesn't just stop at the Olympics. It's wanting to win the World Cup or wanting to get a medal at the next Olympics. So we're hoping this weekend will be another memorable weekend for Irish Sevens.
Yeah, because I was kind of thinking about that journey where some of your mates who would have been there early in the programme dropped off, and some retired naturally after the Olympic cycle came to an end a year later than was anticipated, given that the Tokyo Games were in 2021. We're now just a couple of years out, though, from Paris, and I was reading early in the week, you've got lofty ambitions. You genuinely believe that this team can be competing for a medal when the Stade de France comes around in a couple of years' time.
Big time. Yeah, absolutely. We came fifth this year in the overall standings out of, what was it, 9 or 10 or 8 or 10 legs, something like that. So we're extremely consistent. We made 8 out of 9 quarterfinals or something like that. And that's a big step for us. It is such a tough tournament. The series is extremely tough. All the teams are extremely competitive, but I think when we're only getting better. I think we have the momentum, and the trajectory is only upwards for us. We've had a few kind of stumbling blocks along the way, but I do really think that with the way the program is going, the amount of kind of support we're getting from the IRFU, the players that we have, and just the experience we've built. I think a lot can be said for experience on a sevens pitch, and even not even on the pitch, but the sevens environment. It is a bit of a madhouse sometimes, but the more experienced heads you have around the place, the better. And I think we have gained a lot of experience through the years, and I think if we can keep the most part of the group that we have at the moment, I think if we keep improving a little bit more, gaining more experience and adding in that kind of sprinkle of talent from the academies and stuff like that. And I do think in 2 years' time, when the Olympics is only around the corner, I do think we have a good chance of putting our hands up there. But I suppose at the same time, there's a lot to be played before then. We have obviously this weekend the World Cup. Then we have a full season next season, which is also a qualifying season. So top 4, I think, qualify for the Olympics, which we'd like to be in the shout for that. We'd like to be in the run for that, because it'd mean we wouldn't have to play a qualifying tournament, a one-off tournament. We just have to try and qualify as a top 4. And that would mean, or else try and qualify next summer through a qualifying tournament, which would give us a year to prep for the Olympics. Unlike last summer, we had 3 weeks to get our heads around the fact that we just qualified and that we had to prep for the Olympics. But I think since Tokyo, I've kind of tried to figure out what I want to focus on next, and so did the rest of the lads. And I think a podium position in Paris and Stade de France, I think all the medals are handed out underneath the Eiffel Tower. I think that's where all of us want to be in 2 years' time. I think it's something that is really driving the squad. And it's a pretty exciting and lofty goal, as you say, but I think you have to dream big and go for things that are just out of reach. But if you work hard enough, you can actually make them happen. So.
Well, dreaming big in this weekend to come. You look at the potential brackets, which I think we all probably have done before the tournament gets underway. You open against Portugal, which is a game you'd be expected to win. I've no doubt you're going to say you have to be focused, and that's a huge banana skin potentially at the outset. Yeah. But even after that, you're looking at England, New Zealand potentially being on the route towards winning a medal here. You're going to have no easy run to a final in Cape Town if that's what's going to happen.
No, and this kind of format's very unforgiving. We figured that out the last World Cup. We played Chile in our first game, and no, we didn't take them for granted. We probably went into the game thinking similar to this weekend that, we kind of are favourites, but we probably took them for granted and almost lost that game. So a lot of the experienced heads in the squad know that if you take these games lightly, you really can end up with egg on your face. So no, I think we know what's going to come with Portugal. They're going to be very dogged and niggly, but we just have to be really clinical. I suppose that's the most important thing. Like, we know how good we are. Like, we've beaten the likes of Fiji and South Africa. We've put it up to the likes of New Zealand. It's just when you come to these teams, you have to be really clinical, really on the ball, and execute every kind of, like, take every opportunity that you're given. Because if you're a little bit off, lackadaisical, they can turn into a real dogfight. So yeah, that'll be a big one for us. First up, and it's the first game of the World Cup. It's an 8:45 kickoff in the morning, first game. So there shouldn't be too much of a crowd there, which is a little bit daunting, but should be a good one to kick things off. And then yeah, like, you have the potential of playing England in that second round game on Friday night, which would be a really good, or Friday afternoon. That'd be a great one to play in. We've had some good battles with them through the years. We've beaten them a few times this year. And then I think I haven't examined the draw exactly, but I'm pretty sure I think you can play potentially South Africa in that quarterfinal, World Cup quarterfinal, on the Saturday night, which would have the place rocking. Like, whenever South Africa play in this tournament, in this stadium, the place is electric. And I think, yeah, even speaking to the old boys, it'll be one of the biggest games of our lives. Just, it'd have a real test atmosphere about it, I think. I think it'd just be a real cauldron of pressure, and just, if you can stand up in the face of that, it's a big testament to you as a person and you as a team. So I think we're not going to worry about that too much. But then again, today David Nucifora said to us, we want to play in the first game of the tournament, and we also want to play in the last game of the tournament. So yeah, big motivation for us all, and it should be really exciting.
When it comes to delivering in games like this, and look, touch wood, you will get to battle against South Africa in a last eight competition at the World Cup itself. Do you draw on the experience of some of the big games that you have played over the last couple of years? Like, I think back to the qualifying tournament and, you know, being up against it and having to put in a big last 6 or 7 minutes in that game to ensure you're going to an Olympics. I'm sure that all that experience has to actually help you when you come to big events like this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, you definitely need kind of fresh energy, and the guys that have come in this year, guys like Andrew Smith and Che Mullins and others, like, they've added such an energy to the squad and different dynamic. They have added to the squad, but then at the same time, yeah, when you come up against it and there's a lot of pressure and there's high stakes, it makes players do funny things. The added bit of pressure can make you kind of overthink things, cloud up in the mind, and make some bad decisions. But it does. We've kind of learned through the years that when the pressure does come on, if you can, and the fatigue, I suppose, it'd be, I suppose you'd be doing a disservice to sevens, not to mention the fatigue that comes up, that you come under in a sevens game. When that fatigue sets in, when you're under extreme stress and there's the pressure in the crowd, being able to calm your mind, being able to slow down your heart rate and do the simple things really well. And like, when I say simple, it's like controlling what you can control, setting first, getting your eyes up, and then communicating really well, telling the people inside and outside you what to do and making their jobs really easy. That is the difference. And especially in games like that, if you're in minute 12 and you're in a draw, or you're 3 points down or one score down, being able to execute all those finer, smaller details are the difference. And we've seen it time and time again, whether it's on the World Series or in those big high pressure qualifying tournaments and games. It's the team that doesn't crack, but the team that can stay the most composed and execute under pressure is the team that's going to come out on top. So yeah, I think we've a decent amount of experience in that department. The likes of, you know, Harry McNulty, Brian Mullen, Jack Kelly, Terry Kennedy, Mark Roach, these guys, Hugo Lennox, these guys have all kind of come under that pressure at some point in time. And yeah, I think they all know what it takes to execute. It's just about, bringing the young guys along, bringing them guys on the experience and helping them through it. And then, executing when the pressure does come on.
2022 has been an incredible year for Terry Kennedy, especially. Like, looking at his stats here, they're pretty scary. leading try scorer across the year. He's got 50 tries in 52 games, which is an incredible strike rate. He's also had the most assists on the World Series, and he's leading the carries going into this week for the World Cup as well. And if you've had him in the, looking at the dream team, he's basically the top player that we've seen so far this year. He's been producing remarkable numbers for you.
Yeah, I said it there during the week. He has been unplayable this year, and speaking to other captains, they're just like, "What? Like, he is so good." He is. He's ridiculous. He's pulled out some results for us by himself at times this year. And some guys get a little bit lazy sometimes when you're watching him, and he's just scoring tries for fun. I don't know, and he's been on form for the last 3 years. And it's not like it came out of nowhere. He's been quite a well-known person in Irish rugby. I suppose he was unlucky with the Irish 20s years ago not to get a look in. But he just scores tries for fun in the World Series. He's so much time on the ball. He's extremely fit, so he sees up like he's able to see things before they happen. He can make your job really easy by telling you what to do, and everyone else is really blowing hard on the pitch. He has enough energy to have a look up, communicate, and make good decisions. And yeah, he's been extremely competitive this year. I think that's the thing that I like to look at, is how he's been driving the group. So it's not just his own performances. It's not a selfish thing. He wants to drive the team. He wants to win. And he's been barking at guys all year. He's been a real leader for the squad throughout, right from our first leg in Dubai, right through to LA last week. He's been leading it. And yeah, I suppose those numbers, those World Series stats, and the awards he won last week are all nice. I think it's a great recognition of how he's gone in the last year, and even the last 2 years, 3 years for us. And yeah, I think it'll be up to us this weekend now to try and step up and meet that kind of what he demands out of us, because the amount of effort and work he puts into the squad, it'd be nice to put on for us as a team, to put on a good performance and match what he's done for us throughout the year.
And it means like you've got multiple threats across that team. If it wasn't a couple of years ago that Jordan Conroy was going to the top of all these lists with the tries that he was scoring as well, like multiple threats are pretty key if you're going to go deep into this tournament.
Yeah, Jordo's been incredible for the last 5 years for Irish Sevens. He's kind of been the poster boy, and similar to Terry, he's pulled out results for us when we really needed it. So they're like I'd say defending those is an absolute nightmare. And Jordo said it before, is just because if Terry isn't going to run around you, he can pass to Jordo, and Jordo will skin you. He's just electric. And then inside them, you've the likes of Hugo Lennox and Sean Crippen, who are two of the most skillful players I know. In sevens, certainly, they're high risk, high reward players. Which can often count against them at times, but they're incredibly good footballers. And they really do go for it, and they complement the guys outside them. So they really do complement the likes of Terry and Jordo. They put them in good space, make good decisions. Then you have the likes of Mark Roach. You've Harry McNulty, who is as solid as ever, just the most durable player on the World Series. I'd say he gets through every 14 minutes a weekend, which is just incredible. Then you have the likes of Jack Kelly and Brian Mullen, who they're all just workhorses. And there's lots more guys in the squad who are all just they bring their own X factor into the squad. So we do have a lot of threats across the park. It's just, I suppose when it comes down to sevens, there is a little bit of luck, but there's also, you need things to click early, right from the start, get a bit of confidence. Everyone needs to be moving forward. You need the bounce of the ball sometimes as well. But yeah, I think it has been what other teams point out in us is our continuity within the squad, is that we gel quite well. We all know each other quite well. We played together for so long, and you can see it on the pitch when we click. We can really put teams to the sword, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a change too, because when the programme started off, sometimes players who were very good at 15s were getting dropped in to be looked at in the sevens. I even think back guys like Robert Balakoon, who played a bit of sevens and then went back to Ulster and into the system there. really you've had a kind of a pretty experienced core group of guys. I know you said at the outset you have people feeding in and that creates competition within the squad. But if you're going to be a force at, say, the World Series level and going to World Cups, you really do need that continuity and that bond between the team if you're going to progress together as a group.
Yeah, like at the start with the sevens, the turnover was a bit mental. Like each year was a different set of players. I think when at the outstart, when it was the likes of Tom Daly, Adam Byrne, Shane Layden, Dan Goggin, these kind of guys, they set the path, and then suddenly they started playing Pro 14 and playing provincial rugby more regularly. So there was a complete turnover, and you had the likes of like a new generation of players. You had Hugo Keenan, Jimmy O'Brien, Rob Balakoon was a little bit later, and Nick Timoney, he was around at the start. You had those guys that stepped up and brought it on a step further as we climbed kind of that ladder in Europe. And then, but like throughout it all, we've kind of, we've done well to maintain this core of players, this 7 or 8 players, kind of the players that I've mentioned twice or 3 times in this already, but they've kind of hung around because, we weren't going back into provinces. So this was our chance to play professional rugby and live out that kind of dream. But you do, like we've seen it with the other countries, you need that core of players, that core spine of a squad, to bring those young guys through, because it's brilliant when you do get the likes of Andrew Smith or Jay Mullins or Hugo Keenan or Jimmy O'Brien. When you get them coming into the squad, it's brilliant because it adds the energy, it adds a new skill level, because they want to impress and try and get back into their provinces. So it is brilliant when you get them sprinkled into the squad. But I think it's that combination of the two that is what has made us so, like, I wouldn't say so successful through the years, but has made us one of the forces now in sevens rugby, in such a short space of time. And I think that is kind of credit to what like Anthony Eddy created, David Nusfora created, and now James Toppings. There's a good strategy there, and it's worked. And I think Toppers is now kind of bringing us on. He's developing what we're doing, and I think sevens in Ireland is only going to grow. I think there's good plans to grow out sevens in Europe and especially in Ireland, to try and grow the game, get more players playing, and then also try and it has churned out a good few players to the national team. So it's a really good product. So I think the more players that can play, it can only be better for Irish rugby, because the contribution it's made to Irish rugby, you can only see with someone like Hugo Keenan, how, like, I know his game isn't just because of sevens, but
he's mentioned a few times it's enhanced his skills. Like even the lines that he ran, he thinks he's become a better, more intelligent rugby player from his experience at sevens.
Yeah, I would like to think so, and I think it kind of developed his skills. And then as well as that on-pitch stuff, it's the off-field stuff. You get put under the pressure of having to travel around the world, be a professional under that pressure, play in these massive crowds. It's just a great experience. So it's a really good product, and it's exciting to see. It'll be exciting to see who else we churn out, who's going to be the next Hugo Keenan, someone like Andrew Smith or Che Mullins. Like they're guys that could really make a big impact in Irish rugby, I think, down the line.
Yeah, Rugby here on Off the Ball is with thanks to Vodafone, main sponsor of the Irish team of us, everyone in. Just one question for you, Billy, before you finish. You'll probably be keeping a keen eye on how the women's team get on in South Africa over the weekend too. And I mean, they've been ripping it up on the World Series circuit as well. They've got a really good squad established. Players who've got 15s experience have gone back in to play with the sevens, very importantly for this World Cup. And I think they're hopeful of a very strong finish this weekend too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I spoke to Lucy there this afternoon. They have got a tough. If they want to get to the final, if they want to lift the World Cup, they've got a tough route with Brazil first up, and then you've got New Zealand. So that's a tough task. But they've been, how would you say, the standard bearers for us, for Irish Sevens this year. They've been absolutely incredible. To see where they've come from is kind of the most impressive thing. Like it was only 2-3 years ago that they were battling it out with the likes of the invitational sides down the lower half of the table. And we're really struggling, and they're kind of met the switch they've made, the progress they've made mentally over the last year or two has just been incredible. And it's been fascinating to watch how much they've grown in confidence, and the results they've got over the last 6 months have just been, incredible. They've been very impressive, and I think that they'll be hoping this weekend to continue that momentum, continue that progress. I've no doubt that they will, whether when it comes to that, hopefully that game against the All Blacks, that they do perform and they do play like they can, because they've got some incredible players, the likes of Lucy, Stacey Flood, Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe, and loads of others, the likes of Eve Higgins, Bevan Parsons. They've got some real threats in their team, and now they know that they do have some of the best players in the world, and they do know that when they click as a team, they can beat the best. So I'm looking forward to watching them. That'll be extremely exciting to watch them, because they're a great side to watch, and I hope they can continue that vein of form that they showed throughout the year, because it's brilliant. And I suppose it's one part of the progress that Irish rugby are making with women's rugby in the country is they're kind of leading the way, and it's great for women's rugby that they're able to make this progress and do it on the world stage.
Well, look, fingers crossed for both teams in Cape Town this weekend. Billy, thanks a million for joining us ahead of your World Cup campaign.
Cheers. Thanks very much for your time.
Rugby on Off the Ball.
With Vodafone, main sponsor of the Irish rugby team. We all belong to the team of us.